Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are here to do a little comparison. I wanted to figure out which of the different container delivery options is the best for the job, and for that I set up my own test bench here. We have three different vehicles with different trailers and just one rigid truck, and they are all loaded with the same type of container. So same location for the delivery and also exact same weight. They came from the same listing in the container pickup menu, and yeah, just loaded some of them on different trailers, and that's how it's gonna go. So first up we have the Kuda 6x2 container vehicle, the only rigid option here. Then we have an entry level semi-truck, my fully upgraded SRT, pulling a smaller trailer. That's 20-foot container trailer with a single container on it. And then of course the end game option, a 40-foot container trailer with two 20-foot containers, and that being pulled by my fully upgraded FL1. One weird thing that I noticed right away, despite coming from the exact same listing, the stuff isn't exactly worth the same even on the 20-foot delivery options here. So on the Kuda, the entire thing is only worth 4.9k, while on the SRT with the trailer it's actually worth quite a bit more. I mean, it's not that much of a difference, but it being 5.5k is a bit confusing. I would have expected them to have the same value, but for some reason that's not the case. And also, of course, since we have two of them on the larger trailer, it's gonna be worth a little less, and this is only about 4.1k. So yeah, that being said, let's get on the road, let's get going and see how this all is going to work out. And let me tell you guys right away, I was not positively surprised by the performance of the Kuda. I put in the strongest engine, turbocharger, everything that it could need, and its only real benefit is that it's quite stable, which is a good thing. But in terms of performance, it doesn't really do too much. Also, we are going to visit Gate today. I thought it would be a nice route to take just because it's a decent distance away, and on the way where we are going to see a few different road scenarios play out. First up, a bit of a windy road, which we can usually expect going around Jeju Island. Then a lot of highway, which is going to give us a good perspective on the top speed. And then also a bit of a climb up, which is a bit more reminiscent on stuff that we can actually encounter on Oldie Island. It's not perfect, but I think for getting a bit of variety at least, it helps out quite a lot. Also, I'll put the entire thing in drift mode. Don't know how much that's gonna do. So yeah, when it comes to the Kuda, I'm not entirely sure if I want to keep it. It's not bad, but it's also not amazing. We'll just have to see how the other two perform. One thing that I noticed, I'm using a 6-speed transmission, and when having a loaded container, you basically can kiss the last gear goodbye. You're not gonna use it. It's quite a bit faster when you're actually coming back with the empty container, but that is to be expected. I just find the difference a bit, I don't want to call it disheartening, but yeah, it's really not doing the entire vehicle a favor with how it performs. Yeah, I can shift up into 6th gear, and okay, maybe this container is a bit lighter than the last one that tried I tried transporting around, because now it's actually using the 6th gear. If we have a slightly heavier container, we might end up not really needing that at all. So the comparison is also kind of skewed in which kind of load you're really pulling. Not every container is the same after all, but that's very hard to influence. I tried going for something heavy, but in the end I was happy to even get a delivery that had four of the same types to begin with. It was actually a delivery that started with one container. I just loaded that onto one of the trucks and then it got refilled with another one and then another two, and that's how I got everything going. So 130 kilometers, I would say this is likely more of a mid-weight container. And with the heavy ones, I know for a fact that you will likely be more around 100 kilometers at best. Then again, since every container is the same for the test, I think this is also gonna help out. Just know that not every trip is gonna give you the exact same performance if you are loading something with a different weight, obviously. Another thing of note is that when it comes to 40-ton containers, not every place right now makes a difference between them. So it can be possible that, especially for the warehouses, they just care about containers overall, and you are going to get the same amount of items out of delivery when you deliver a 20-ton or 20-foot container or a 40-foot. It's a bit weird that way. Okay, and with what we have loaded right here, we can go up to around 50 kilometers, slightly higher than that. Also worth noting. So around 130 on the straight, slightly above 50 on the slope, and now also accelerating. So 58 at the top, and we are almost at the delivery point. And that should give us a good idea on what we can really expect here. Right now, my expectations for the other vehicles are that um, the 20-foot trailer convoy is going to do about the same as this one. I'd be surprised if it was much worse. And I expect the 40-foot trailer to be a bit more of an issue, but it shouldn't be half as fast. So in the end, I think all of these vehicles might be viable for different things. I would most likely, and this is my predeceived notion that might change with how the rest of the testing turns out, I will likely just stick to the 40-foot container trailer and yeah, a semi-truck. Semi-trucks definitely have something going for them with being able to do all sorts of different jobs, while this one is really only good at this one single task. And to be really recommendable, it will need to perform so much better than the other two options. So let's drive back, and we should be a bit faster than on the way towards the delivery. Although at this point I think I also, yeah, I lowered the final drive ratio a while ago. So I started with something a bit higher, and then I noticed that it wasn't really working too well for loaded containers, and now it's going slightly into the red, but as long as we don't overheat, we should be fine here. But yeah, it might be a good idea to maybe go with longer final drive ratio. It's always a bit of a compromise. And now we are overheating, that's definitely not amazing. So maybe another transmission with a few more gears would be better at this point. It wouldn't just be shifting up into the highest ones on loaded trips. But overall, I prefer the 6-speed transmission. I would maybe go for 8 gears if that was available. But right now, as it is, well, 13 or what was the other one, 18, 16, no idea. They kind of just don't have that much benefit because they are shifting that often, and at that point you are also losing speed and everything. Thus the constant up and down shift is really hampering performance. So this is why I set up my trucks like that. It's at least gonna be the same for all of them. I don't know if they all have the exact same transmission, since there are two 6-speed transmissions for trucks like this, but they shouldn't be that much of a difference. As long as the final drive ratio works out, it should be all fine in the end. Also, another thing of note, there are no additional fuel tanks for the Kuda, despite there being a bit of space around the bottom there. Would be nice if we could upgrade that as well. But compared to my other two trucks, which have the utility fuel tank options, this one has a much lower range before it needs to refuel. Gotta keep that in mind if you plan on doing deliveries with this one towards the refinery or stuff like that. But yeah, that's this one being done with. Let's go and take a look at the 20-foot container trailer. So the thing about this is that I'm still running my my truck in a racing configuration. So it would be not the worst idea to maybe stiffen the back a bit. But I think since this is more of an option for people starting out, this is not the worst deal. So I could have gone with a Golema, I could have made this thing a bit stiffer, but I think if you want something more endgame, you are gonna go to the 40 ton or 40 foot trailer anyways. And already this thing feels a bit more unstable. I mean, if I bought the trailer, I could have of course lowered it and gotten stiffer springs and all of that. I don't think this will be too bad in any ways, but let's see how it compares on the straight. Not really any issue going through those few turns over there, but it felt a bit more iffy. Then again, I've just done a few deliveries with the Kuda Container Truck, and therefore I'm a bit more familiar with how that one performs. This is really my first try at this whole setup over here. Yet already it feels like the Kuda might win out on top speed over this one. Then again, it's kind of tuned to be a bit faster on the straightaways, so this will be much better on the way back. But in the end, this is really upgraded to be a racing truck now, so this might skew the results in favor of the Kuda truck instead of this one here. So for semi-trucking I would likely get a different final drive ratio and hopefully get a bit more top speed out of this. Right now the gears are pretty long in order to get a lot of top speed when you don't pull anything. But it's getting there. Also gonna go downwards a bit before reaching the real straight bit, and that should help it out quite a bit as well. So while I think it could be a bit more responsive, bit more aggressive on the acceleration, I think in the end we are looking at a similar performance compared to the Kuda. Maybe a bit slower. Kinda tough to compare, but I didn't want to ruin my racing setup to just do this one-off test. And I still think going with a smaller truck is a bit more what you would really do when you want to use this trailer. Oh, and we are apparently overheating here. So let's go into 6th gear to not run high RPMs all the time. Of course, there's no way of me just getting to higher speeds again with how this is going. Should still be fine. Oh god. I completely missed the breaking point. You may have noticed. Gonna rejoin. Sorry, ambulance. Yeah, this one is also pulling up a decent amount. But shifting up at this point definitely hurt it a bit as well. But yeah, as far as handling is concerned, I think this is working out quite well as well. So it's not like when you use this semi truck for heavier deliveries that it just gets completely unusable. This is perfectly fine. And I think it could be performing up to around what the Kuda does if you set it up a bit better. While also being a bit cheaper, I think. Kuda is 140k. This semi is, I think, 110 or something. And it only is a 2-axle truck, so you also don't spend that much on suspension upgrades. Of course, if you want to make this thing in the long run, you would likely also want to buy the trailer. And at that point, you are kind of just paying a bit more money then. But then again, for the occasional delivery, you don't really need to own the trailer, and that semi can be used for a few other things as well, as long as it's not something too heavy. Also, by the way, I'm considering to maybe completely change the look of this truck, just getting a different paint job done. I think maybe making the entire thing black and then applying blue flames. That could be cool. Just gonna have to see about that. But yeah, this is definitely not dialed in correctly. I should have maybe done a bit of a test run with this, but once you do any deliveries, you're kind of running out of options when it comes to setting the entire thing back up. Although on the way back, this one is almost justifying the final drive ratio that it's getting here. Almost 150, and it could have likely reached that if it just had a bit more time. And yeah, I think maybe the Kuda needed a longer final drive ratio, this maybe needed a shorter one, so they could meet in the middle somewhere. My setup here is definitely not perfect, and the SRT is having a bit more of a sacrifice than, or a bit more of a compromise than the Kuda. Then again, this is a, oh god, I should have really hit the brakes there. This is more of a multi-tool compared to something that's really only good for that one thing. But yeah, right now after seeing this comparison, and keep in mind that you are even making a bit more money with this trailer for some reason, I would definitely recommend this one over the Kuda. I think there are a few things they could do with the Kuda to make it a bit more usable and versatile as well. For example, giving it a trailer hitch and maybe a different type of trailer that would also be for containers but not a semi-truck trailer. Instead a more heavy duty trailer hitch type of thing. But anyways, we are back and we are going to now test out the final option. And this is gonna give us a good idea on whether or not we really even want to do any single 20-foot container delivery to begin with. So let's get right into the FL1 and let's see how this one is gonna go. Again, the power is exactly the same, the load is double of what the others had to carry, so this one is likely gonna be a bit more on the slow side. But we are also going to make not twice the amount of money, but we are going to deliver twice the amount of resources. And when it comes to containers, since they are usually part of a supply chain, that's also very important to consider. And I think I said it already, but not all the different companies and warehouses make a difference between a 40-foot container and a 20-foot container. So for this one in particular, it doesn't care about that, and therefore by going with two 20-foot containers, we are delivering twice as much for supplies as we would with a single 40-foot container. I think that's also a good reason to kind of discount that option from the testing. In the end, it would also be helpful to have another 40-foot delivery, but yeah, I think at that point you can kind of make the comparison for yourself. Just looking at how it's paying between the two options and knowing that only in a few places you're actually getting the same for the 40-foot compared to 20-foot. And yeah, we are definitely going at a more leisurely pace here, but that is to be expected. Just because we are having a heavier load, we're not magically getting more power from our engine. And this, by the way, on all of those vehicles is always the most powerful semi-engine. I think that's 540 horsepower plus the turbo upgrade. So let's see what kind of top speed we can get from this one. And this semi-truck is definitely properly set up for deliveries. The SRT fell out of favor for me a while ago with the heavier trailers and everything now, because it kinda suffers a bit when you have to do something very heavy, like this container trailer, the tanker trailer, that's really not working too well for that vehicle. Even if you stiffen all the springs and everything, it just tends to jackknife quite a lot and just get turned around, especially on brakes. But yeah, considering how we kinda struggle to really pick up the pace, I mean, it's gonna help out that we are on a slope now. I'm not entirely sure if using any of the other vehicles is twice as fast as this one. It certainly isn't. You get maybe like 40 kilometers over this truck at this point. Okay, this one is also slowing down, which doesn't help. But I think the increased payout per item and just being a bit quicker on their wheels might make the other trucks a compelling option as well. I think ultimately, if you really want to do the most amount of deliveries in the shortest amount of time, this is likely the best option. But if you may be more interested in going a bit quicker, if you find this kind of delivery boring where you just really don't have to do anything for a while, it just basically keeps on running, keeps on doing its thing, but it's not going anywhere fast. Yeah, if you want something slightly more exciting, the other ones might be better. You can maybe get a bit more out of it by going back into fifth. Doesn't really seem to be doing much either way. But we are about to hit the slope, and I hope I don't hit it like last time. And yeah, this is one of those slidey trailers. I still prefer that over the entire thing just tipping over. But in the end with containers it can happen, but it's not really that much of an issue. I had that way more often with the older system, with the 30-foot containers. Some of those heavy ones, they used to be very top heavy, but with these ones it doesn't seem to be that much of an issue. If you want top heavy, you go for the tanker trailer. But yeah, much of a difference once we get to the slope, kinda to be expected. The others were about 20 kilometers faster. But thankfully this climb is not forever, otherwise yeah, it would be quite boring after a while. And at that point, if we go with all of the ups and downs of the rest of OG Island, I think that would make the single 20-foot trailer options a bit more viable. Because at that point you are almost going twice as fast. And you're getting better pay per item. But overall this is still gonna win out. After all, we have 2 containers. So yeah, I think in the end it's likely gonna be up to anybody for themselves to decide, and that's also a reason why I'm doing this stuff. I put this all into the video so you can see for yourselves and don't just have to take my word for it. There is a bit of bias in the testing already, since I did not set up everything to its optimal performance, but also just seeing the results and seeing what comes from it. There's always a difference in interpretation. But yeah, the trip back should be much quicker, and I think at that point, I mean, we don't really have much of a climb going back anyways, so it's always gonna be in the favor of this truck. But we should be fast enough to minimize the difference in performance on this trip now. And again, it also depends on if you are doing the return trip to begin with. When I deliver stuff to the refinery, I usually just despawn the vehicle and the empty container then and there. Because I'm really just doing the trip for to deliver the resources as supplies and have those processed. I don't really care too much about getting the empty stuff back and making more money. I might as well teleport back to the point where I can pick up another delivery and do the same trip for the same type of money, but also delivering additional resources. I think when it comes to the actual results of this and what I'm gonna do with the Kuda container vehicle, I'll likely just wait until this episode comes out and then see what you guys say about it. You often come up with some interesting takes that are definitely worth considering, so I'd rather wait for that before I make any decision. Doesn't hurt keeping that vehicle around for now, and if I want to get rid of it, I'll just remove all the upgrades, and I really just lose like 70k or something. Not amazing, but it's alright, it's worth a try for that kind of money. But I could definitely use that engine for another truck and a few other things as well. But yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think about this testing and the results of it. I'm still surprised the triple axle trailer can slide this much. It's a bit weird, to say the least. There are no tire upgrades for this one. I can maybe replace the ones that are on there already, but I know for a fact that I didn't use this all that much. It should also show me if the tires are on their way out, so we should all be working out fine. Only thing that could be a factor right now is that maybe there is a bit of damage on the trailer itself. I'm pretty sure that I only get shown the damage indicator for the truck itself here. That shouldn't be that much of a difference. So we came up to around 125 kilometers with this one. I should have definitely let the bus pass, but I'm not that kind of a driver in this game. Especially not with how AI vehicles are performing. I'm just gonna take my right of way even if I have to enforce it heavily. And if I don't have it to begin with. But yeah, that's gonna be it from for this one. Just looking at how long the recording has gotten. Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that The last one would always be a bit longer than the other two deliveries. But I think still for the stuff that we got here, it's decent. Although honestly, I kind of feel like containers could be worth a bit more to begin with. 8k for that trip, I mean, okay, 8k going one direction, then 8k coming back with empties. It's not awful, but it's also not amazing. But yeah, that's gonna be it from my end. Let me know what you think about the testing today in the comments down below, and see you guys next time. Have a good one. Till then, bye bye.